Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Today, I am trying a new two two-stage coffee delivery system. Get this super insulated mug, but it's relatively small, and then I've got my coffee in a thermal carafe. Uh, to see if I can have have warm coffee. Very often I'm drinking coffee and I have got a big mug and it takes too long and so it goes cold or whatever. But good morning if you're just joining in. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes before I dive into the topic. But today, I am going to be talking about forgiveness today. Radically important topic, a decidedly important topic. I can't remember if I've definitely done videos about forgiveness. I don't know if I have talked about it in a live before. So this would be great, and people can, if you're on Facebook or YouTube watching this, you can submit comments or questions, and I can see those. I don't think any of the other platforms that this is streaming on um, does that, exposes their comments like that. But you are welcome to add questions and comments. Good morning. Oh, well, that's good then. Very happy to be talking about one of your favorite topics, and definitely good morning to you down there in the Sunshine State, right? Um, although it's very sunny here in my state at the moment, which is nice. I got to get out and mow the lawn soon. It's time. It's time to have the first lawn mowing of the year. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you. I was just saying, this I'm trying a new coffee delivery system this morning because before I have these big cups of coffee and I wouldn't drink them too quickly, and they would get cold. So I've got this like super insulated, the wall inside. It's like half an inch thick. I mean, it's got air inside it's a double wall, and then I've got my ginormous carafe of coffee. So hopefully we're gonna have I'm gonna be stay caffeinated and keep my coffee warm throughout at least this broadcast and maybe beyond. Today I'm going to talk about forgiveness, and I'm going to talk about what we mean by forgiveness and why it's critically important to your mental and spiritual health and even your physical health. And hopefully dispel some, I think, common misunderstandings about forgiveness. Yeah, so yeah, yeah, for whatever reason, room temperature coffee, it's got to be cold or hot, and it's weird. Good morning from Philadelphia. Caffeinated and ready to forgive. Excellent, excellent. Glad to hear it. I do, not in the morning, but I am at least a quarter Irish. My grandfather's surname was Griffin, and he was full-blooded Irish. And I do enjoy an Irish coffee, but definitely not in the morning. And that's got to be hot. Um, so anyway, let's talk about forgiveness. Let's talk about what it is. Why do we care about forgiveness? Why do we, you know, what benefits is bright? And I'm going to walk you through a forgiveness exercise towards the end. So stay tuned. This is my good morning. Good morning. Oh, well, perfect then. Perfect. It's amazing how that sometimes that just works out that way. Um, so that's great. So I was teaching about this the other night, and I gave an exercise, and I'm going to go through that exercise. So this is my like teaser. Stay tuned to the end, and I'm going to go through a pretty powerful forgiveness exercise that you can use, and I'll tell you where it comes from, and you know you can practice. Good morning to you as well. You were here at 6:30 a.m. Oh my goodness. That's early. That's early. Although I was up at 5 this morning. Or actually before 5, my dog got me up super early this morning. She's like, "I just want to wake you up." Heavy theme in your dream. Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Um my dog is like, "It's 4:30. Let's get up. Now I'm going to go downstairs on the couch and sleep some more after I'm awake." It's a good thing she's adorable. Um, and I'm gonna forgive her today for waking me up at 4:30. So let's get into forgiveness. So um, I'm gonna make my working definition of forgiveness very, very simple. So simple, drop dead simple. Um, hopefully, there can be all of this like psychological definition of forgiveness and spiritual definition of forgiveness. I want to get really, really practical with it because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what forgiveness means. When we forgive, what we are doing is we are letting go of emotional charge, right? That's it. 100%. That's it. From a psycho spiritual level, we are letting go of emotional charge that we have with another person who has done something, done some wrong, done some hurt, or said some hurt, or not done something that has been hurtful, right? The absence of action can also cause hurt. And so, um, forgiveness, and I'm going to have to talk a lot about what forgiveness doesn't mean because there's a lot of misunderstanding out there. And and this is misunderstanding that I had before I really learned about how powerful a practice forgiveness can be. And you can do forgiveness however it works for you. I did I think a couple weeks ago I did one of these on Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian practice. Um, that that is a great forgiveness practice, right? You can use that with somebody that you need to forgive. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a different exercise today. That comes from another source. It comes from a different part of the world, but is incredibly powerful forgiveness practice. So somebody does something, some hurt to us, something that we perceive as a violation or something along those lines. And sorry, I hate to do this. I just have to respond to something's text really quickly. Sometimes life gets in the way of, I'm going to try to talk at the same time I'm doing this. This is how ADHD sometimes helps. Sometimes it allows me to be hyper focused, and sometimes it allows me to do multiple things at the same time. People are sometimes amazed that I can like watch TV and read a book at the same time, or or I'll have something on TV and be scrolling through videos on my phone at the same time. It's this weird divided attention thing. It also comes from having twins. So I have twin daughters. They're 17. They're absolutely beautiful, very smart. They're graduating in a few weeks. They're graduating from high school. I'm gonna be an empty nester very soon. And so so when they were little, I'd pick them up from school and say, how was school? And both of them would start talking to me at the same time at a million miles an hour. Well, so and so did this, and I did this, and I found myself being able to hold divided attention and listen to both conversations at the same time and respond to them. Um, that wasn't like an immediate thing that I had. That took some time, but I was able to do that. So let's get back into forgiveness. So somebody has done something that has harmed me, and I'm carrying around these hurt feelings, right? I'm carrying this baggage. I'm carrying this weight. Um, and I will say up front that all of your hurt, all of the bad feelings, all of these things, 100% righteous. It's not for me to judge your feelings. It's not for me to judge and say, you shouldn't feel this way. You should not have, it's not for me. I am not you. I'm not walking in your shoes. And I have empathy for people who have been hurt. And we've all been hurt in some ways, big ways and small ways. But carrying around that hurt, carrying around those hard feelings. Oh, cool. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I feel incredibly lucky having twin daughters. And I spent, they're half Asian. So we spent a lot of time in Asia when they were little, and people were like, "Oh, twins, twins, twins are less common actually in Asia than they are in some other places." So um, it was yeah, it was like twins in a lot of Asian countries are very very lucky, sign of luck as well. So that's pretty cool. I love having twins, and I love being a girl dad and all of that stuff. They just had prom on Saturday, and I went and I took pictures of them for their prom. Um, and they're just beautiful girls and beautiful souls, and really, really smart, and off to college very soon. Uh, so anyway, forgiveness. So we carry this hurt around, right? And we hold on to this. We hold on to the hurt. We hold on to the anger, and that's understandable, right? We're learning beings. We're creatures of building habits, um, and so one of the ways we learn is this person hurt me, and I'm going to carry that around so I don't let them hurt me again. And so there's a misunderstanding frequently about forgiveness that it opens us up to vulnerability, right? That forgiveness means I'm letting this person off the hook who has been hurtful towards me. And that's from the definition that I'm using, that's not what I mean. You can forgive someone, you can let go of the emotional charge that you're carrying without inviting that person back into your life or allowing them to hurt you or allowing them to cross your boundaries again. We don't, when we forgive, we don't lose what we have learned. What we do is we lose the pain, at least some of it. And I know it's difficult. Oh, that's interesting. The Yoruba have the highest rate of twins. I know that twins are much more common in Africa than they are in Asia, and that sort of thing. So that makes sense to me. That's very cool. That's good to know. I did when I found out we were having twins 17 years ago, or actually found out 18 years ago. Um, I did a ton of research on twins, and they're identical. They're genetically identical twins, and I did all of this research about odds and this and that, and you know, just because I'm very nerdy. Um, but that's very cool. I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna um, look into the Yoruba and twins. But yeah, isn't that a cool thing? But yeah, I love being dad of twins. It's pretty amazing. I do have a friend that has triplets. That's what a blessing, but power to her for making it through that. Twins is hard. They had triplets and then they had one more kid, so they have four kids. But I have two twins, one and done for me. Um, okay, so forgiveness is about letting go of that emotional charge. And it can take some work and it can take some time, but it's worth it because this idea of the Buddha talked about this. The holding on to anger is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Right? We're not punishing the other person by holding on to that emotional charge. We're not making things right. We're just punishing ourselves. Unforgiveness is like a prison. That's why the title of this talk is Forgiveness is Freedom. Right? Yes, yes, we absolutely, yeah, we definitely need to have a conversation soon. And I think I have your contact information through email. Yes, I do. I do. I owe you an email, and we definitely need to have a conversation. And I want to, if you're game for it, and I think we talked about this before, I would love to have you come on here. I can have guests come on, and we can have a conversation. And um, being a priest and a shaman are in many cases two different things. So besides practicing shamanism, I am also a newly ordained metaphysical minister. And it's a very different thing. I think they're all paths to the same truth, but they're different functions, different roles, that sort of thing. But I absolutely want to talk to you about that. I want to have you as a guest on here. So let me double down and make that happen. Yeah, forgiveness and boundaries are both incredibly important. And forgiving doesn't mean we give up our boundaries, right? That's another kind of misunderstanding. And in English, we have the expression forgive and forget. We don't forget. No, we're not forgetting. We're not sweeping things under the rug. I grew up in an abusive household. Um, Very abusive, lots of, domestic violence, child abuse, drug, or chemical abuse anyway. All, just really horrible. And everything was always a secret. Everything, we don't talk about this. You don't talk to people outside the family about this and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, yeah, we complicate things, right? Human beings complicate things. Metaphysics, people are like, oh, metaphysics is really, strange and bizarre, whatever. The thing about metaphysics is, there are rules, not human rules, not like if you do this, you're going to be punished, but um, the way things work, there's an order to the way things work, and it's not incredibly hard. Here's Phoebe. Here's Phoebe's tail. Yeah, yeah, yes, very dangerous, extremely dangerous, and it is, in my opinion, it's here's Phoebe. Say hi, Phoebe. In my opinion, childhood trauma is an unspoken epidemic that we don't, because we don't even know um, how many lives it's affected, and how many resources we've lost to it, and how much mental health issues, and how much crime, and how much everything can be traced back to childhood trauma. So it's something that needs more addressing. It's finally being starting to be recognized by the psychological community as its own thing, even though that's a struggle. There were people, including Bessel van der Kolk, who's one of the leading experts on complex PTSD, who were trying to get a diagnosis of developmental trauma disorder into the DSM so that psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists could diagnose children properly. And there was resistance for whatever reason. I don't know. There was resistance to it. So it's not a diagnosis yet. Hopefully someday it will be. So yeah, so we never forget. We never ask to forget. We let go of the emotional charge, but we don't lose our mind when we do that. What we do is we live with more freedom. And freedom implies choice. It implies that we have choices about how we live, how we interact with the world, the relationships that we have. It doesn't mean that we give up our boundaries. Our boundaries are our choice, right? And we can have very strict boundaries with certain people, very loose boundaries with other people. And that's up to us. That's our choice. We can only have that if we have freedom to choose how we live. Whether this all or none, like I shut everybody out or I allow everybody to walk over me, we don't have to do that. We can use our discernment. And it's helpful if we can come from a place of emotional equanimity. And the other thing is, it's just more comfortable, it's more pleasant to live without this severe, gosh, there's like Probably can't see it because it's white. It's like cat hair floating around me. Somebody needs a good brushing, and it's not me. Well, I need a good brushing too. My hair's a little weird this morning. I need a good brushing too, but the cat definitely needs a good brushing. So that's on our agenda for today, Miss Phoebe. Have a little sip of coffee here. So forgiveness allows us to move through the world with freedom, and it also helps us move into acceptance. The exercise that I'm gonna walk people through today, and you can do it along with me or just listen in and come back to the recording later if you feel like it's too much to do today or whatever. The exercise I'm gonna do today is from something called unconditional love and forgiveness. And this comes out of the psychosynthesis school. And the particular psychosynthesis. She's a psychologist who came up with this, like took it from the code of the Essenes, and the Essenes were um, uh, a sort of an order in ancient Judea, now Israel, that lived apart from everyone in a communal living. They were very different. They uh, you know I say very different, like they were, outwardly Jewish, but they were kind of their own sect, and they had, again, they had a lot of beliefs about unconditional love and forgiveness, about the source or God, Yahweh, whatever term they used. I think they used the tetra, if I remember correctly, because the Dead Sea Scrolls are attributed to them. So I think the word that they used for God or source was the tetragrammaton, which is the Yod He Vav He. Actually, I'm writing that backwards. Should be right to left. Yod He Vav He, or what we would say Yahweh. But to them, the name of God was ineffable, unpronounceable. So they, like, probably, and I don't know. They spoke Aramaic, so not even Hebrew. So same language as Jesus. They were around the same time as Christ. So 2,000 years ago, they existed, and they hid away. We know about them because they hid away a bunch of scrolls, and amongst those scrolls that have been located and translated, and there's still translation projects going on. There was a code of conduct, and that included teachings on um, forgiveness, right? It was part of their spiritual mission. Anger is energy, and energy wants to move. Yes. That's why it's so harmful to hold on to anger. Yeah. Yeah. And we know, like physically, we know what happens to us when we hold on to anger and stress, right? Cortisol, we get all the stress hormones in our body. Yeah. Yeah. I am completely with you. So knowing something and living it are two different things. Yes. This is not easy, and it requires tools, and it requires practice and patience and self-compassion, right? A lot of times what we do is like, oh, I shouldn't feel anger, but I feel anger, so I'm going to beat myself up for it. So don't do that. You have to forgive yourself as well. If your circle of compassion does not include yourself, then it is not a circle. It's not complete. You have to give yourself compassion, love, grace, and space so that you can understand what's going on and work on it. But yeah, it's not the same thing just to know it and to do it. So hopefully I'll give you some tools that you can try out. I also really fond of Ho'oponopono, and I've done videos on that. I did a live on that, I believe, a couple weeks ago. So you can go back to that or find some resources there. It's a really good exercise as well. And a book that I highly recommend for letting go of emotional energy um, is The Sedona Method by Hale Dwoskin. That is probably the book I have recommended more than any other in my life, and I've given away uh, I don't know how many copies of that book. I when I had employees, I gave them copies of that book. When you know uh, friends, I've given copies of that book. Phoebe wants to type on my laptop. I'm afraid she'll like hit something and cut me off at some point. Um, yeah. I'm glad that's helpful. Yeah, and I didn't come up with that. I think that was the Dalai Lama. So, don't, I could be wrong about that, but if your circle of compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. It is not a circle. You deserve as much love and compassion as anybody else. And we are oftentimes our own worst enemy. We say horrible things to ourselves in our head, right? You know, I've had clients where they're like, "Oh, I have this, recurring thought, you're such a terrible person and blah blah blah." They'll talk about some recurring thought they'll have. I'm like, "Would you allow somebody in your family to speak to you that way?" Or, name somebody that you love. And she's like, "Oh, my niece. I really love my little niece. She's adorable." And da 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 da. And I'm like, would you allow somebody to speak that way to her? She's like, "No, gosh, I'd get into a fight with that person if they spoke to my niece that way." And I'm like, then why do you allow yourself to speak to you that way? Why are you any less deserving of compassion, love, and respect than your niece? And I'm not saying your niece is less deserving, but you deserve as much love and compassion as anybody. It's not earned. It's not a merit system. You just by the fact that you exist, and I will die on that hill, my friends. Just the fact that you exist, you deserve as much love and compassion as anybody else. And we can give love and compassion to those who hurt us without letting them back in our lives, without letting them hurt us again. We can direct love and compassion towards them, right? My abuser had PTSD. I can feel compassion for that. I don't, I don't condone the behavior that he chose as a result of that. But I have compassion for what he went through, and I hold him in that space. And now I actually am like, I give love to you just as you are, without any expectation, without placing any transaction. This is hard. Don't get me wrong, it really is hard. Much of our love in this world, much of what we think of as love is very transactional. If you do X, Y, and Z for me, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then I will love you. Then I will hold you in love and you will be deserving of compassion. That's not love. That's a transaction. Um, we get very confused about love in what that actually means. Love is acceptance. I accept you just as you are, exactly as you are right now. I have no demands, no expectations on you. That is a very hard place to get to. That is an extremely hard place to get to, particularly when people hurt us. Now, again, I can accept you fully just as you are right now with and still draw boundaries and still not accept behavior towards me coming from you. Still not allow that to happen. I love you as a human being, as a divine soul, embodied in this moment, in this lifetime. I accept that you have pain and suffering like everyone else. I accept that you have trauma like everybody. I accept all of this. I just accept and love you. It's a hard place to get to. But ultimately, underneath it all, that's what all major spiritual systems are teaching. I know I'm not saying religions because there are religions out there that are not very loving. There are religions out there that are very loving, and there are some that are not very loving. Human beings, man, we get in the way. We interfere with the love. We we parse it out, right? And and so yeah, it's hard stuff. Forgiveness is hard stuff. It's hard work. Is it worth it? I think so. I think so. I'm a completely different human being, a completely different body, mind, I move through this world, I show up in this world different than I did, and a great deal of that has to do with the spiritual work that I do consistently on myself. Um, am I done? Absolutely not. Will I be done in this lifetime? Most likely not. But all that matters is I'm doing the work, right? And then I give myself grace. Look, man, you fell down. Didn't talk to this person with kindness and compassion, or you lost your marbles at this, or better than that. I'm not going to beat myself up over falling down. I'm a human being, right? I'm not this perfect ascended master or anything like that. I have not met one. I have met people who I had a spiritual teacher decades ago who many people considered to be um, like truly permanently enlightened, right? Just pouring myself a little more coffee here. I feel like this is my giant carafe out of which I'm keeping my coffee warm. Um, I had a spiritual teacher many people considered enlightened, and I had many um, unbelievable, miraculous experiences in his presence. And he wound up taking his own life. Other spiritual teachers, very highly respected, wind up sometimes abusing their followers, abusing their students, whatever term they want to use for them, or doing other things, or drinking themselves to death, or you know taking taking their own lives. um I have not met a non-human person that is embodied. I've met what I consider non-human people, but I've not met like an enlightened master that doesn't fall down. It just doesn't It's just not very realistic to me. And the presentation of somebody as being above their humanity, I think, does a real disservice. I think showing up as human, showing up with messy hair in the morning, showing up with my coffee in hand, having my cat jump up in my lap while I could shut my door and lock her out, but I don't want to. Um, my imperfections are my imperfections, and I don't feel ashamed by that, and I don't think it makes anything I teach about is something that I have lived, and so I have full confidence in everything that I'm teaching. I don't teach anything that I don't know inside and out, and that I have not practiced myself and gotten significant benefit from. Does that mean that you have to adopt everything that I teach, or believe everything that I say, or whatever? No, absolutely not. But I think my teaching has value for a lot of people, and in part because I'm just a person. I'm not presenting myself as like some elevated spiritual person. And some of the people who come on here like know me like in real IRL, like in real life, right? And uh they'll tell you, oh, that guy John, he's just a big goofball, right? Which I am. I'm a very goofy dude. I hope that comes through sometimes too. um I try to keep it not just complete goofing around, because people come here to talk about whatever subject I'm talking about. But I'm a goofy guy, and that's what it is. So again, like I would run from teachers who like can't show any kind of imperfection, have to present themselves as like these we're all divine inside, all of us equally. We're all on the same plane. We're all here, right? And I assume if you're tuned in, you have a body and a mind. And here's an interesting change of perspective for me. This was an interesting change of perspective, and a little bit of a paradigm shift. And it may not be for you, but it was for me. very often we feel like we are a spirit inside a body, right? We're driving around inside this meat suit, right? We're animating this thing. We're driving it around like a giant robot, like a giant mecha robot. Um, we're like a little man up here, and we're steering the what was the Men in Black had the guy that had little aliens inside driving him around. It was like a robot. But one thing we know about consciousness, our soul and our awareness, is that they are non-local, meaning they're not just stuck inside our brain here. Um, and they appear to be much larger than, so by non-local meaning we're not in here. It can feel like that because our sense organs are very close to our spine, right? Our eyeballs are inside our head. So the things that we see, we often feel like we're seeing them inside our skull, and that's where we are. But if you practice things like shamanism or soul travel, any kind of soul travel thing, you realize that your consciousness exists outside of your body. So a paradigm shift would be, instead of feeling like I'm a spirit inside a body, you can feel like your body is inside your soul. Your body is inside your soul body, which it is. We're perceiving it sometimes as we are inside, but we are essentially infinite, and we are connected. We're deeply connected to that which is infinite. We cannot not be, right? Whether you're religious or not, the source of all things. I think everybody, whether you're spiritual or not spiritual, believes that everything came from a single source, whether you believe that's the Big Bang or whatever, the limit field of limitless light, or the primordial chaos out of which source spoke and created everything. Whatever your belief system is, I think it probably includes that we all came from the same source. We are all part of, we're like drops in the ocean, right? There's ocean in us, and we're in the ocean, and we can't really differentiate or disconnect ourselves. You can't. You cannot disconnect yourself from source. It doesn't, you wouldn't exist. And you exist. If I ask, do you exist? Not talking about the intellectual exercise of I think, therefore I am. Like, you viscerally know. If you ask the question, am I? Am I? Is there a sense of I-ness there? Is a sense of beingness there? I think you'll find one if you look for it, right? That part of you is eternal. It's unborn, undying, unwoundable, un, you know, it's fixed, it's imperturbable, that part of you. But there's other stuff that is a part of you, right? We coalesce, we organize, we are organized consciousness, and we are very often organized around the body and mind that we are currently steering around this planet. So, forgiveness. Um, Again, forgiveness is freedom. It's about letting go of this emotional charge that we're carrying around. And it does, like, logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense to carry around this emotional charge, right? We're not, it's not, it's not helping us think. It's not helping us stay safe necessarily. Initially, somebody causes some, we feel some hurt arise, this emotion arises, and it helps us inform the way that we think about a situation. Well, that's an untenable situation. That's not right. I don't want a repeat of that. I don't want that to happen to me again. Once we've learned that, and that happens immediately for most of us, although some people will repeat the hurt over and over again. And I've done that in my life. Uh, but we've learned that lesson without holding on to the hurt. So again, the misconceptions about forgiveness are that if I forgive somebody, it means I let them hurt me again. No. If I forgive somebody, it's letting them off the hook for what they did, and it's not seeking to get them to make amends or anything like that. Not necessarily, right? Um, I have seen person after person, and in my own life, person after person after person wanting somebody to be different, right? If I don't forgive that person and I just constantly throw anger at them or whatever, they're going to change. They're going to be different this next time. They're going to give me the love that I want from them. That's a trap. That is a trap, my friends. That is you're really going down a rabbit hole there. And how often do people really change? Like fundamentally change. It happens and it can happen and you can do it. We all have that mindset, right? We all go through that. That's not, yeah, so common, right? But just hold on to this person's going to change. How many relationships have we been in where oh, if I just do this, this person's going to treat me differently. If I just do this, they're going to be different. Um, People can change, but it's like the old joke. How many how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is only one, but the light bulb has to really want to change, right? That's a joke about about the idea of um, you know, as somebody who sees clients, I'm not a psychologist, but as somebody who sees clients and somebody comes to me with a problem and they're like, this and that and this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at it from this different perspective. And they're like, no, no, I'm gonna hang on to my perspective. I'm gonna hang on to the way that I'm looking at things, even though that way has not served that person. And I explain it in very clearly. I cannot force somebody to change, right? I could try to convince them or that sort of thing. So again, unconditional love is about letting go of expectations and demands on the other person. And that includes the demand or expectation that they're going to change. For one, it's unrealistic most of the time. I have, I've certainly run into that mistake in personal relationships in my life. Oh, if only I do this person, it'll be different next time. You know, um, I have a couple times in my life, I have dated somebody after breaking up with them, like gotten back together with them. And guess what? Guess how that worked out? It didn't. Things didn't change. Yeah. So love is not about changing the other person either, right? It is exhausting. Absolutely. Um, we, so again, like from a different paradigm, a different perspective, if you want more love in your life, if you want more love and you deserve more love, the way to get that is not to earn it from other people. The way to get that is to become more loving and to understand what love is. And love is accepting and approval of somebody just how they are. It is not clinging or trying to change or pushing away or drawing in or any of those things. True spiritual love is the state of equanimity in which you hold all beings, all things in full total acceptance and um allowing um yeah, hoping they love you enough to change how they treat you. Yeah, again, like that's a trap, I think. That's a big trap. If only I do this. Real love is not conditional. If only I do this, this person will love me more. Rarely does that work out. And that's not what again, that's not love. Love is doesn't have conditions on it. If you do this, I will love you more. Real love is not. Love is a weird word in English, right? So we have one word for love in English and some other sort of associated words. I'm fond of you, I like you. Those don't hold the same meanings as love. But I can also say I love cheeseburgers. And I can also say I love my children. Those aren't the same thing, right? I unconditionally accept cheeseburgers. But the love that I have for my children is completely unconditional. They could do anything and it will not diminish, change, or affect my love for them. Do I draw boundaries around their behavior? Absolutely. It's my job as a parent. Do I tell them I would prefer that they behave in a different way? Absolutely. That's my job as a parent. But it is not my job to withdraw love from them as a punishment. It is not um, my job to, you know, um, to put conditions on my love for them. I'll never forget when my kids were little, like 4 or something, and I had to put one of my daughters on a timeout because she was, I don't know, doing something she really wasn't supposed to do, and, I put her on timeout, and that was, we had a step that they had to sit on for however many minutes, and she got so angry, and she looked at me and she said, "I hate you." And I looked back at her and I said, "I'm really sorry that you're feeling that way right now." I said, "But I love you, and nothing you ever say or do will change that." And she sort of harumphed and she sat in her timeout. And when she got done, she was crying and she came over and she gave me a hug and said, "I'm sorry, I do love you." So even when we're mad at other people or we don't like their behavior or something along those lines, we don't have to hate them. We don't have to withhold acceptance from them, right? It's a hard thing because that's not what we're taught in this culture. We're taught that love is very transactional. We're taught that love is conditional. We're taught that it means X, Y, and Z, right? We have romance stories and rom-coms, and we believe in love at first sight, and we believe in all of these things that love is. In Persian, there's something like 85 different words for love. In English, there's one. In there's a bunch in ancient Greek, for example, right? You have agape, which is just this unconditional love for everyone and everything. And that's taught in a lot in some Christian churches. They teach agape as a form of universal love for one another. But you also have eros, which is where we get the word erotic from, which is passionate love, love between lovers, love, erotic love, intimate love, that sort of thing. But the love I'm speaking of is more akin to agape. It's more akin to holding others in acceptance wherever, however they are, and letting go of hurts, but letting go of expectations and demands and that sort of thing. So, as promised, I have to pull up a document because I don't want to get any of this wrong. As promised, I'm gonna walk you through a little bit of an exercise, and if you can go through it with me now, or you can, if you want to, you can come back and watch the recording of this. If you want to go through it another time. This is a process of forgiveness, which was created by somebody named Dr. Edith Stauffer, Stauffer. She wrote a book called Unconditional Love and Forgiveness, which is now out of print. And unfortunately, I do own a copy of it, but unfortunately, used copies are relatively expensive. I don't know why they never reprinted it or whatever, but uh, you know, recommended if you can afford it. Book the copies of it can be expensive. Paperback copies are a little bit less than hardcover. I have a paperback copy, and I forget what I paid for it, but you know, anyway, it's been out of print. But anyway, she comes from the psychosynthesis school, which is a school of psychology that is very transpersonal, meaning they believe that our mind and our consciousness goes beyond the personality, this sort of like individualized personality. This particular exercise comes from the Essenes, which were a sect in ancient Judea 2,000 years ago, lived communally, wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, hid the Dead Sea Scrolls. We know about them because the Dead Sea Scrolls have been found and translated. Many of them have been translated. Um, So again, I'm going to repeat, we don't ask to forget something. We're asking to forgive or to let go of the emotional charge that we're carrying about something. So if you want to do this along with me, what you want to do is choose a person who has done or said something that it would be good for you to forgive. And this does not work in a blanket way. This works on single incidents of somebody doing something. And you can choose, if you want to, for the first time, choose a small hurt. So and so didn't call me back on Tuesday or something. This works for small and big hurts and disappointments. So here's the exercise. I will walk you through it. It's such a good one. And again, I want to give credit to Dr. Edith Stauffer's book, Unconditional Love and Forgiveness. Respect her. She's deceased, but respect that whoever happens to be the copyright holder on that. So I'm not reading it word for word anyway, but just because I want to respect that copyright. But um, people are, her students and stuff have given this out and teach it. There are YouTube videos and stuff you can find. So anyway, so we'll start. You're thinking of this person that has you think and think of a specific incident, right, where somebody has done something that hurts you. I'm going to make a fictitious one, so just so I can walk through it. I'm going to say somebody named Jack um, took took something from me, took my cell phone. Jack stole my cell phone. We start by say to yourself, you can say this out loud or in your mind, I choose, I choose to stop punishing myself and feeling bad for what Jack, or the name of the person, has done or is doing to me. I choose. This is building the will. Will is about you being able to do what you choose, right? Psychosynthesis is a lot about building up the will. I choose to stop punishing myself and feeling bad for what this person has done or is doing. And I have a note here that unforgiveness is a self punishment. You do not deserve to be punished for what other people have done. I hope we can agree on that anyway. Um, Now, imagine the person you need to forgive is in front of you. They're sitting in front of you or standing in front of you. You can, if it's safe to do so and you wish, you can close your eyes if it's helpful. As you hold this image of that person in front of you, say, I would have preferred you had said or done blank, whatever you prefer they would have done. So I would have preferred that you left my cell phone and not stolen it. And now say to this person, but you didn't do that. So I now release the incident. I'm releasing the incident. I choose to let it go and feel free. You did this, but I'm letting go of this incident. I let go of the hurt from you stealing my cell phone, and I choose to let it go and to feel free. Again, we're working on the will. The will is your ability to choose for yourself. The next thing you say, again, you're still imagining this person in front of you. You say, therefore, I cancel all demands, expectations, and conditions that you do or say or be anything in the past and now. So I cancel all demands, expectations, and conditions that you not steal my cell phone in the past and now. I'm canceling that. I cancel the demand that you be any certain way. You, speaking to the person who did hurt for us, you are totally responsible for your actions and deeds. And I release you to your own good. You're responsible for that. I'm not responsible for what you did. It's part of the forgiveness process. Is I'm not taking responsibility for your behavior. All right. Now, in this part of it, I'm not going to use the Aramaic term. I'm going to use, just because that can be confusing for some people, I'm going to use the term higher self. So imagine that there's this higher self, that it's like a star. This is an Essene concept, and the Aramaic word for this is nefsha, that there's a star above your head, bright like the sun, and that is you. That is your higher self. That is pure love, pure forgiveness. It's all of the beautiful, unsullied aspects of you, the higher self, right? So imagine this is above you. F- Feel the love that the higher self has for you. It is pure love. There's pure unconditional love and acceptance. Allow the compassion and love from this higher self to flow into you and release. This loving energy is going to release all the conditions, expectations, and demands. Feel that part of you up here that has protected, loved, and nurtured you your entire life and in previous lifetimes. Continue to feel the love from this higher self. And now say to the person you are forgiving, I send this love from my higher self to you just as you are and have been, and feel that energy flowing out from you to this person. All right. Now become aware of your body, bring your awareness back in, and just check in and see if you're holding on to any demands for this person. Um, and you may be, because there may be more than one incident, and each incident has to be given separately. This doesn't work as a blanket forgiveness thing. You can repeat this exercise for small or big hurts, but check in with your willingness to, how willing are you to be free? How willing are you to live in freedom from the chains of unforgiveness, from the punishment that we give to ourselves for unforgiveness? If you feel blocked in any way, there can be more to release. And so I did this exercise with a class last night, and one of the students weighed in. It was really nice, good feedback. She's like, "Oh, I picked this person that I thought I had forgiven, and when I went into this exercise, I felt a block in my body." And I said, "Okay, so there was a block there. That's great. And now you have a tool to go through and let go of that." So I recommend this exercise. I recommend Ho'oponopono for forgiveness as well. Lots of instructions on that. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The smaller hurts tend to be easier at first. However, don't get don't get caught up in that belief either, right? Because all of our feelings, all of our hurts, all of our anger, all of our fears, none of that has any substance, right? Has less substance than a soap bubble. And you can dive into it and it will pop like a soap bubble. So even though we gauge things, this is a big hurt, this is a little hurt, this had more effect on my life, and this had less effect on my life. Letting go of that emotional charge can happen for you. So, um, oh, thank you. Yeah, I love Ho'oponopono as well, and I have been using Ho'oponopono quite a bit recently. I went through a couple months ago. I went through a breakup in a relationship, and it was. I'm still friends with the person, and we still, absolutely hold this person in love and want nothing but the best for them. But it was painful. It was the breaking up is hard. Breaking up, isn't there a song, "Breaking Up is Hard to Do"? I think there is. But breaking up is challenging, it's hard, it's painful, there's a grieving period, right? There's a grieving period where you go through all the state denial and anger and to get to a place of acceptance. And I used Ho'oponopono to get around some of the really hard feelings. And I didn't want to be angry at this person because I do hold them in love, and I also don't want to hold, I don't want it to affect our relationship going forward. And I don't want to hold on to that, right? I don't want to hold on to that feeling and self-punish with that feeling. But once we get around to the idea that unforgiveness is self-punishment and we don't deserve it, then it makes forgiveness hopefully seem much more logical. Once we get past the fallacy that holding on to these feelings is somehow protecting us, we got to let that go. Interestingly, I just heard my son in the other room say the name of the person I was thinking of. Uh huh. Even though I was just thinking about them and never said their name out loud. Uh huh. Very cool. And also not incredibly surprising. This exercise is transpersonal, meaning it connects. When you connect to the higher self, you're connecting to your connection to the divine, you're connecting to all there is, your connection to all there is. And so again, there are stories about this, um, people using this to forgive somebody that did something to them 20 years ago, and then that person calls them. They haven't spoken to that person in 20 years, and they go through this exercise, and immediately after that, a person calls them. This The beautiful thing about this, one of the really beautiful things about this is when we do our work, when we do our self work, whether that's forgiveness, whatever, that ripples out to everyone. Not, you'll see it most in the people that are close to you, like your son, right? So it's a really beautiful thing that happened, and I would, absolutely cherish that. And but I'm not very, very surprised by it either, because it is a very powerful, it's a very powerful thing. And we can live. This cat's aggressive. She's aggressive snuggler. Say hi, Phoebe. Um, uh, we can live in freedom. We can live in love. We can live in peace. And remember, if you want more love, and you deserve more love, I don't care who you are, you deserve more love. If you want to feel more love, if you want to experience more love, the way you do that is to become more loving. It is not to try to earn. Oh, thank you so much. I'll let her know you said that. She thinks she is too. Um, Phoebe is beautiful. She's a very pretty kitty, and she's soft. She's so soft. Her fur is like, I don't know, silk or something. It's crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not. It Forgiveness is not about the other person at all. Um, it's and we could think of it. Um, another way to think about it is, what if these people who hurt us decades ago, small hurts, big hurts, what if they're teachers from source? What if they're here, as painful as those lessons are? What if they are here to teach us lessons about forgiveness and lessons about, like, I know that's sort of like, we don't want to get into toxic positivity where we're like welcoming hurt into ourselves, but the hurt has already happened. And so what if there are lessons, what if there are boons to be gained from that? From trauma, I decided to take up shamanism, and that has been my life path. If I hadn't gone through all of the crap that I went through as a child, it's doubtful that I would have found shamanism and be living the life that I'm living, which I'm very happy with. Um, and I have great friends in the shamanic community, and it really is life sustaining and fulfilling, and is my mission. I would not maybe have found it. And so, um, there are aspects I would not want to go through it again. I don't wish it on anybody else for sure. But I can treat those experiences as teachers, and it just shifts. It takes some of the power away from it as punishment or um, what have you, right? So yes, yes, beautiful. Um, and that and what like um I am love is I think one of the most powerful mantras you could repeat to yourself. Be the love that you want to experience, right? I am love. Affirm it. Affirm it. I am, first of all, affirm I am. I am. That's a very powerful phrase. The phrase in the Bible, I used to know it in Hebrew. I don't. I am that I am. Moses in front of the burning bush talking to Yahweh says, "Who are you?" And the answer is, "I am that I am." That's a very, it sounds like word salad if you're just like, on the surface level. That's a very profound mystical statement. I am the I am, right? So are you. You are the I am, right? You are not separate from that. Teachers from source. That's right. That's right. Um, Source puts things in our path. Um, can be a very hard teacher. Life can be rough. It certainly can. But we also have all the tools that we need at our disposal. There's a thought amongst many that people say, God doesn't give you any disease for which He has not provided a cure, right? And that taken to be often that there are herbs in nature that cure almost anything. If we were to research them, a lot of our medicines, the non-synthetic ones, come from, aspirin comes from like willow bark, and a lot of cancer drugs come from trees, that grow in China, I think. Um, so there's a lot of stuff like that is provided for us. And so I think I think source provides everything that we need. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's always in front of us and readily apparent, but it is there. I have to go for the day. I have to start my day. I mean, this is the start of my day, and I do want to thank you all for joining in, for participating, and your comments are amazing, and your questions are amazing, and I love seeing new people in, and I love seeing people who, I don't want to say old people. I mean, people who have been here, been with me before. I love to see that, and I love connecting with all of you. So take care. It's Wednesday, hump day. Enjoy your day. And again, this if you want to go back and watch the exercise again and do it again, I highly recommend it. Um, you can find it. You can find this video will be both on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. So, oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for your time, and you are welcome. So, I enjoy having having these chats with you all. Take care. My love to you all, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You are very, very welcome. You're very, very welcome. And I will talk to you very soon.